Good morning everyone, and welcome to today's worked exam answer video. Today I am taking a look at an AQA GCSE question, but all of the content that I'm going to discuss for this particular AQA question is also relevant to those of you studying the Edexcel IGCSE and probably a lot of other specifications as well. We're having a look at alkanes and alkenes. And in this 6 marker, we have to compare an alkene with an alkane in terms of the structure and bonding and their reactions. So I guess the key things to start is that we identify that ethane is the alkane, and then they very handily shown us the displayed structural formula for both the alkane and the alkene. So we've then got ethene is an alkene, and ethene is there. Then the question says compare ethane and ethene, and the word compare is really important here because compare means that we need to be talking about both similarities and differences. So in terms of structuring our answer for this 6 marker, it's going to be really important that when we're thinking about the structure and bonding, we don't just say what's different about them, we also say things that are the same between them. When it comes to reactions, we need to think about reactions that are different, but also think about reactions that are the same. So there's kind of going to be 4 components to our answer. We're going to have differences between the structure and bonding, similarities between the structure and bonding, differences in terms of their reactions, and similarities in terms of their reactions. So those are going to be sort of the 4 areas we're going to need to cover. Now, if we were to only think about their structure and bonding and not mention reactions, we're not going to be able to get 6 marks. Even if we were to give 6 points, really good points, accurate points, that included similarities and differences, if we're not covering everything that we're told we should refer to, we're not going to be able to get all the marks. So, in terms of structuring this, I am going to start with the structure and bonding component. So I'm going to think what's the same about their structure and bonding, and I'm going to think about what's different. And before you commit to writing it in the space provided, you might want to just jot down some notes sort of at the side up here as to perhaps what some of those similarities and differences are, so that you can then just write it in a bit more of a logical structured manner when it comes to writing it down on the lines. So in terms of the structure and bonding, they're both hydrocarbons, so that's a similarity. They're both made up of only hydrogen and carbon atoms. They both contain covalent bonds. Between carbon to carbon and between the carbon and the hydrogens. However, the ethene has the C double bond C, whereas ethane has a C single bond C. So ethene is unsaturated, ethane is saturated. The molecular formula of these are different. So ethene is C2H4. Presence of the double bond decreases the number of hydrogen atoms we have. When it's a single bond between the carbons, we need 6 hydrogens to be present. So their molecular formulae are different. What else could we say about structure and bonding? They're both simple molecules. There's covalent bonds, and they're certainly not giant covalent structures, so therefore they're simple molecules. So there will be weak intermolecular forces between those molecules. We could also therefore say that they're likely to have low melting and boiling points. These will both be gases at room temperature. That's also linked to the structure and bonding. Neither of them conduct electricity because they're simple molecules. I think those are probably the main things that I would want to say. I think they're going to be the main things. And of course, we've got to think about how many things we want to actually write for 6 marks. I'd probably say more than 6 to cover yourself a little bit in terms of if you were to say something that wasn't credited on the mark scheme, or you said something that wasn't wholly accurate, then it's good to have more than 6 points, because then, assuming you haven't said anything, you know, too incorrect, you should still be able to pick up more of the marks. So those are the things that I will write to start with regards to structure and bonding. So just to think about things that are similar and different, I need some sort of key. So that's a similarity, that's a similarity, that's a difference, that's a difference. Those are similarities. In terms of their reactions, we can combust both of them. So we can use them as fuels, and we will get the same products if we are to combust alkanes and alkenes, because they're both hydrocarbons. So we'd get CO2 and water for complete combustion, or we'd get water and either carbon monoxide or carbon if it was incomplete combustion. So that's a similarity in their reaction. The biggest difference is the fact that the double bond makes the alkene very reactive. So from alkenes, we can make addition polymers. So we can join together many ethene monomers, the double bond opens up, so we have the double bond, it opens up, and then that gives us the continuation bonds out of each of the carbons that were originally in the double bond, and then they can join on to multiple other monomers. Can't do that with an alkane because we don't have that double bond. Alkanes don't undergo lots of reactions. There are some, but not many. The other reaction that I would definitely mention here, which is used to help us distinguish between alkanes and alkenes, is the reaction with bromine water. And if we were to add bromine water to an alkane, it would stay orange. Whereas with our alkene, it would become colourless, or it would be decolorized. We'd get a colour change, and that's because the bromine is reacting with the double bond in the ethene, and the new organic compound made is colourless. So that is another really important difference. So that's a similarity and a difference in terms of their reactions. We've got 3 similarities and 2 differences in terms of their structure and bonding. I think that is going to be easily sufficient to get all the marks. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to pause the video while I write that up, and then I'll come back and just summarise everything that I've said and bring it back to the question again one more time. So next time you see this, it will have my full answer on it. Ta-da! I really tried to be as concise as I possibly could be, and this is why bullet points are definitely something that I would kind of advocate for in longer answers like this. I could have saved myself a lot of time and space by bullet pointing what I wanted to say. If I wasn't bullet pointing, this is what my answer would look like, but I also think it would be perfectly acceptable for me to have kind of shortened it and just said both ethane and ethene are hydrocarbons, both made up of covalent bonds. Ethene is unsaturated, contains C double bond C. Ethane is saturated, C single bond C. and so on and so forth. But I wanted to write it out as a full answer so you could get a feel of kind of how I've kind of linked some of those points from our little plan up there together. And the other good thing of doing a plan is if you run out of time to finish this answer, but you've got your points up there, you will be likely to pick up a few marks for that. So if you are worried about time, get a bit of a plan down or just get a bullet point list written down, because you can still get marks that way. So both ethane and ethene are hydrocarbons. That's a similarity in their structure and bonding, that are made up of covalent bonds between carbon atoms and carbon and hydrogen atoms. That's another similarity in their structure and bonding. However, ethene is unsaturated as it contains a carbon-carbon double bond, whilst ethane is saturated and has a carbon-carbon single bond. That's a difference in their bonding. This gives them different molecular formulae. Ethene is C2H4, whereas ethane is C2H6. That's another difference for their structure. Both are also simple molecules, and the weak intermolecular forces are responsible for them both having low melting points and boiling points. So that is another similarity with their structure and bonding. Then I go on to the reactions and say both compounds can be combusted as fuels via complete or incomplete combustion, but only alkenes, thus ethene in this question, can be joined together as monomers to form addition polymers. That is a similarity for the combustion and a difference for only the ethene monomers being able to be joined together to form those addition polymers. Because ethene reacts with bromine water, orange colourless, but ethane does not, stays orange, this is the test used to distinguish alkanes and alkenes. And I probably would have wanted to have said that the reason why ethene reacts more than ethane is because the C-C double bond increases its reactivity. I didn't. We don't have to explain the difference in their reactions or the difference in their structure and bonding, so we didn't need to connect the different molecular formulae with the fact that the alkene has a double bond, which therefore reduces the number of hydrogens we can have bonded because each carbon's bonded to the other one twice, and we didn't need to explain why they can both be used as fuels or why only the alkenes can be used to make addition polymers, but in terms of the reactivity, that is why alkenes react more than alkanes, because of the presence of that C double bond C. Hopefully everything I've said there makes sense and is clear, but as always, if there's anything that I've said that you're a little bit unsure about, please don't hesitate to reach out, leave a comment on the video, send me an email to missgtutoringandresources@outlook.com. I'm always more than happy to help. Really hope that's been useful for you guys, and I hope you have a lovely weekend ahead.